we're journeying back to the myth, the legend of Heimdall, the great tree of life, the Yggdrasil tree, and the rainbow bridge. So the next piece of my path in restoring the harmonics of the planetary grid and allowing the Ouroboros to re-meet their tail in December is taking me to the land of fire and ice, whether energetically or physically, in order to anchor in the bridge harmonics that have met and merged with the rainbow stream at the Eye of the Dragon in Iceland. So hi, if you're new here, I'm Leanna. A part of my path and purpose is helping the planetary network reharmonize, which I've been talking about on my YouTube channel and sharing with you as I retune the bridge harmonic across the US from North Carolina to Oregon and Oregon to North Carolina, and merging it through the mirror gate with the rainbow bridge. Now, I do lots of other things. I'm an intuitive reader, psychic, and I work with others to help them move through their own womb of return and re-piecing back the fragments that are ready to restore to them, as well as helping you work through what is wanting to be created, heard, known, or received. So if you're interested in any of that, you can check out the links below. And if this video resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe because it helps as you're trying to get the information out there. And before we get into why Iceland is calling, let me recap a little bit about the myths that tie into this for my journey. So I've been talking a lot about the Ouroboros and the Tree of Return, and the Rainbow Bridge and Thunder and Lightning. Now, the Tree of Return is the bridge harmonic that stabilizes the Ouroboros. The Tree of Return is part of the Great Tree of All that sustains the cosmic lattice. Now, in Norse mythology, we have the Great World Tree, the Yggdrasil tree, and that tree is cared for by the Norns, or what is called the three fates. But as I've explained before, the fates would not describe fate as how we usually understand it, which is predestined things meant to happen and out of our hands. But it's more the coherence of past, present, and future. The names of the three Norns mean past, present, and future. And they care for the Yggdrasil tree by watering it from the spring that is named after one of the Norns. And this spring is the coherence of past, present, and future. But in total, including this spring, there are 3 springs. The other one is the well of memory, Mimir's well in spring. The other one is the well of cosmic creation. It is the well from which all waters arise. It is the void, it is the womb. So these are the 3 wells that nourish the great tree of life, and the coherence of their unity that nourishes the tree and the roots. Now, on my journey, I have been working mostly with water of time and memory. At the different nodes, I always go to a source of water, an underground lake, a creek, a river, or a lake. So I'm re-watering the tree of return, the roots. I'm recohering the connections between the waters of the planetary network with the cosmic waters of all. And previously, I've also talked about Heimdall and the importance of thunder and lightning to the rainbow bridge. Now, Heimdall in Norse mythology is the gatekeeper of the rainbow bridge or the Bifrost bridge. He is known as the one who illuminates the world. In my last video about Heimdall, I explained that I intuited in Norse mythology he has 9 mothers, which sometimes is interpreted as 9 waves of the ocean. These 9 waves represent the spectrum of light, including the seen and the unseen rays. So he is the sun of the full spectrum of light. He is the sun of the rainbow who refracts it and crystallizes it into form. And lightning and thunder represent the horn that he calls when that bridge meets the point of crystallization. And even in myth, it's very clear because Thor never walks across the bridge, he swims under it, which is the personification of thunder and lightning. So by swimming under it, it's a symbol of holding it up, of supporting it. So those are a few things that are important to understand. And the Bifrost even itself is known for its flow, its movement and direction, as well as the tree of life, the rivers and wells and springs that flow through it and allow us to navigate it. So I'm going to be talking a lot about water. I'm going to be talking a lot about oceans. And a part of this, I have researched, it's come from my own intuitive knowing and my past life memories where I was a navigator of ships on oceans, or an ocean ship, and rivers, because I was from Brazil. So now let's get into why Iceland is calling or is the location for anchoring the Tree of Return and the Rainbow Bridge. Well, Iceland is probably the most obvious location. It is the literal home, or the interpreted home, and origin point of the Bifrost in Norse mythology. And Norse people today usually believe that Iceland is the home of the Bifrost Bridge. It's known for its high amount of rainbow sightings, its beautiful landscape. It also has a very interesting geology breakdown to its land of minerals that are very important and significant to alchemy. So primarily the myth is what's leading us here. But sometimes that's not always literal, although in many cases they are our greatest clues for the cosmic map, for understanding the earth field. And so usually it can get us pretty close, especially if you know how to weave them together. But luckily in this case, I can prove it, or at least convince you by sharing my own perspective and pattern recognition. Now, Iceland has been calling me for a while. I mentioned it in my video on the Vatican as a place where the southern flame will meet the north wind at the wheel of time. And to be honest, it was calling me before then as a place for the final closing of the Ouroboros. On other timelines, I had seen where this could have happened on Beltane, May 1st, or August 4th, or to me, August 4th this year would have been the forgotten day of the days out of time. So the days out of time being the 5 days between the calendar. And the forgotten day, or the sixth harmonic, the 6th day, is a reweaving day, a rethreading day. It is a day of returning through the womb what has been reflected on or known. And it's also very close to August 1st, which is another threshold day in the pagan calendar, the wheel of the year. Now these days are days when the veil is thinner. when the reunion of polarities and the merging of two equal and opposite forces is supported. It's a day for mending bridges and weaving them whole. And back when I was called to Spain to lead a retreat, which would have been in June, which got that nudge in March or April, so not very much time to plan and market a retreat. I was also called to Iceland for Samhain, or October 31st. Now, my timelines got a little off track. And I never planned that retreat to Iceland for Samhain, and it wasn't always for this purpose. But man, do I wish I had planned and marketed that retreat now, back then, so that I would have had a way to physically be in Iceland during Samhain and All Saints' Day. Because that is when this work will be received best and most supported by the thinning of the veil and the unification energies of light and dark in the full spectrum. So now, I know I can do this work remotely, but it would be more supported, more received in person. So if you want to go to Iceland, or if you just want to support my journey, leave a comment below, donate at my Ko-Fi page, and let me know. I am open to collaboration, and I am open to support and would greatly appreciate it in any way. So I mentioned that this is a place I saw closing of the Ouroboros, or the work needed in order to begin the new cycle. Now, Matías De Stefano is carrying out the work in Argentina. And this is still good. It still works. But instead of the southern flame meeting the north wind at the wheel of time, it is the north wind meeting the southern flame. But there's no wheel. At least, not this wheel. And so this wheel still needs to be activated by anchoring in the trine of return and the rainbow arc. And it's not the navigation wheel of a ship, but the wheel and momentum of the currents of the womb waters, of the well springs of time and memory. So this wheel still needs this attunement, and it must be anchored in at the wheel or the eye of the dragon, so that it can crystallize into form and the eye can project it across the grid and give it movement and direction. And if you've watched my video on Heimdall, I also like to think of this as reseating Heimdall at the gate of the Bifrost, where he guards all light and refracts it into visible form. And now I said I could prove it, or at least convince you that this is an aligned location. In my usual fashion, if you've watched my other videos on decoding language, I decode it in a way that works for me, which is through a triadic lens, or a way that maybe Pythagoras would be proud of, who really liked triads. In my previous video on the Vatican, I had mentioned it being the land of eyes. For many reasons, the landscape, the minerals, the oceanography, the ice. But when I was looking, why is it the eye of the dragon, which is how this was coming to me, anchor in the rainbow bridge and the trine of return at the eye of the dragon. And you know what I saw? It's because of the ocean currents, which was not what I was expecting. Now, the ocean currents around Iceland are rather complex. I read a research paper about it, which I'll link below if you are interested in reading that. But you can see from this image how the currents move and behave around the landmass in a circle, creating an eye. And there are smaller currents that aren't named on this particular map. You can see on this other map that is where I'm using some of the currents that I'm looking at. And it also shows you a little bit more about the movement and directions, the loops and spirals of the currents around Iceland. So when I was looking at the current maps, Erminger current drew my attention because of the name and its relation, or what I saw, to Mim, or Mimir, who is the deity of memory in Norse mythology. And I already know Atlantic has great symbolic resonance, but there's also the East Icelandic current, which branches off from the Greenland current and circles around Iceland. Now, these currents are very scientifically interesting as they mix hot and cold streams and loop and swirl, creating complex geometry. They impact currents in both the north and the south. And around Iceland, there is also a large number of eddy kinetic energy, or EKEs, which you can think of as toroidal currents or circular energetic swirls. And we'll come back to those. So for this, we're going to look at the linguistic triad for this activation of currents through the lens of the words Icelandic, Erminger, and Atlantic, to gain some understanding of the significance of these currents and this location. So we're going to start with Icelandic, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'll put some more things on the screen for you to look at. But so Icelandic literally means relating to the land of ice. Now, ice is a crystalline structure, a geometric structure that holds consciousness and memory. Known for purity. Land is grounding. It is the earth. It is rootedness. And ik, the I see, I'm interpreting here for seek, or I see. Now, the number reduction is very interesting. Icelandic reduces to 42, which if you've watched my videos on the rainbow, it's a minimum of 42 degrees to see the rainbow. And there are 42 gates of Ma'at. And then the 42 reduces to 6. Harmony, union. So symbolically, we can say the resonance of the word Icelandic is the rainbow gate of harmony and union, but also where one seeks to unify the crystalline lattice with the earth. Then we move to Irminger. Traditional etymology for Irminger is rooted in German and Saxon, Irmin, which means great, universal, strong. Already looking good. And it's related to the word Irminsul, which is a sacred Saxon word, which means world pillar or cosmic sky bearing archetype. World pillar could be interpreted as the world tree, but also that it's cosmic and sky bearing. Now, the Inger, or the Jur, is also important in its traditional etymology of the lineage of, one from the place of, but can also mean spear. From its triadic breakdown of Min, Jur, sharp, but also exalted, vast, sky-reaching. Min, memory, measure, but also an inward movement. Jur, the spear, the striking, the lineage. Number reduction reduces to 57, which could be signifying spiritual test. 12, cosmic order. And then 3, harmonic unity. And if you were to give it a phrase of harmonic resonance, it could be a downward spear or the inner strike of cosmic order and memory into embodiment or harmonic unity. Down through the world pillar. Also some resonance there with lightning. Now, Atlantic. We can all assume the significance of this, Atlantis, Atlas, which we're going to talk about. So Atlantic comes from the Greek word Atlantikos, which means of Atlas. Atlas was the Titan who bore the heavens on his shoulders. So Atlantic means the sea of Atlas, or the ocean beneath Atlas's sky-bearing arch, a bridge. And we also associate Atlas with the map. Now, Atlantic, if you break it down into its triad, which is at, lan, tick, again, at, point, origin, contact. Lan, land, or grounding, or breath. Tick, we can associate with tick, tock, the pulse, or the rhythm, or time. Now this reduces to the number 8, which is infinity. It is balance of above and below, and it is the infinite cycle of creation and return. So we could say Atlantic is where the origin meets the ground, the root and pulse or meter of time. Now if we put them all together as the three that are one harmonic, I would interpret this as something like the universal arc or the rainbow bridge of cosmic memory pierces the Atlantic, where origin meets the grounding pulse, the meter of time, and unites through the crystalline geometry of land and sky. And I see this as the wellspring and root of the tree of life, and as an eye of the dragon, but also a well, the eye and the well, that can receive the harmonics of the all, the rainbow light, the cosmic map, and fold it into and crystallize it into form. It's where the rainbow can be projected and directed. And you can also see it this way. My work up until Iceland, through North Carolina and Oregon, and back to North Carolina, was laying the energetic template, the code. And Iceland is where it begins to crystallize. It's no longer abstract. It's the spin and the projection into the geometric network and lattice. This stabilizes the wheel of the currents and extends the spoke so that it can project outward and stabilize the field for the Ouroboros to close. And so the arc can meet and hold in Argentina. It is a pivot point that allows for the steering, that supports it and nourishes it. And those eddy kinetic energy fields that I mentioned, the toroidal pulses, make Iceland the only place that can stabilize this kind of anchoring. They act as momentum and vortex cushion that hold a pattern, giving it spin and energy circulation. They naturally amplify because there is a high level of these micro toroids. This creates a macro toroidal field, acting as a planetary loudspeaker, amplifying any activation, and sustains this north to south transfer because of Iceland's proximity and the current's proximity to the North Atlantic Ridge. So think of it like a clutch system transferring angular momentum from north to south. So what do you think? Did I convince you that Iceland is the only node capable of crystallizing the rainbow bridge through the eye of the well, the eye of the dragon, where memory and time, where fire and ice unite, and the cosmic map can fold into visible form? It's where the current of the waters of creation, the waters of time and memory, can be directed in flow, rhythm, and stability. Now, as I've mentioned many times, the connection to this work to Matías De Stefano's work with closing the Ouroboros, it's the same mission. It's two different pieces. that complement and harmonize together. And I've been working with the waters of time and memory, the wells of creation that water the roots of the tree of return and tree of life. And I know very little, but I do know that he has been working to correct the course of the ship of the earth, plotting the course and changing the direction. Like I said, I know very little. I just know he's talked about it. And just before I got on this video, it popped into my mind to look at his Instagram where he posted about it. Like I saw the post, go look. So I did. So I know he's doing this, but I don't know the specifics of how the story is unfolding for him. And I know that I have done energetic work to anchor in the shift in direction for his ship. So it's not that he forgot the wheel. It's just that there's two different wheels in navigating the ocean. So when you are navigating a ship or a large vessel, you set the course. You plan the movement of the ship based on the wind, based on the constellations and the currents, and you steer the ship. But you don't have much control over the ocean. You have to intuit its movement, its flow, its emotions, and navigate the waters of the unknown and the unseen. Now think of the currents around Iceland and the ocean in general as a mirror of the currents of the cosmic ocean, currents with high energy, direction, and movement. If you plot it wrong, you end up destroying your hull. You end up in a ship cemetery, which Iceland is known for. But if you can get the currents to support and nourish your journey instead, which is why in that life where I was a navigator, I almost got killed for witchcraft. And my piece is helping the currents work in favor of the directional shift of the Earth ship. So the course has been set. The direction shifted. Now let the waters of time and memory carry you home. And like I said, if you have interest in helping anchoring this in physically and supporting funding that will allow me to go to Iceland for Samhain, please consider donating below. If not, I will see you remotely, probably live or recorded, for an activation during that time to reseat Hamdall, the gatekeeper and the one who illuminates the world, so that he can crystallize and direct the flow of all 9 waves of the Rainbow Bridge and meet us in Argentina to close the Ouroboros. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.